Hi book babes, my name is Ainsley and welcome to my library. For today's video, I'm going to give you guys my favorite summer reads that I really want you guys to read this summer because they are so good. So my first three, pretty popular, pretty hyped up on TikTok and just like in the book community. So you've probably already heard them, you've probably already read them, but if you haven't already read them, I really encourage you to do so because they are just phenomenal reads. And then I have some summer books that are really near and dear to my heart that I love reading. You might not have heard about or have read. Most of them are YA because I feel like YA summer books touch on that like nostalgia factor, and I feel like that just makes a great summer book because I can bring my own personal memories and experiences into the book. Like it's like these books are like opening up a memory that I forgot I had. Up first is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I know, it's so popular. Everybody tells you to read it every single summer, and I'm so sorry. Which I actually think it's hilarious that this is a summer book because it takes place in January and February. Whatever. We follow Olive and Ethan. Ethan is Olive's twin sister's husband's brother. Super confusing. So we're following Olive, who is the maid of honor, and Ethan, who is the best man. Everybody at the wedding party gets super sick from food poisoning, so the bride and groom are not able to go on their honeymoon, so they send Olive and Ethan to participate in their honeymoon because it was an all expenses paid like raffle that the bride won. So Olive and Ethan are having to put their differences aside and go on this honeymoon together, and it's just super funny, super light. You can read this in one sitting, which I've done before. You can read it over the course of a week, which I've done before. I've reread this book probably 4 times. It is one of my favorite books of all time. But yeah, I so recommend you guys heavily to read this book. It's amazing. Next up is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. Again, I'm sure you guys have totally heard of this book. It was super popular about 2 summers ago whenever it first came out, and because it was popular then, it was popular last summer as well. I read it last summer and it was just so good. It was my first summer book, so it really just set the mood for my entire summer, and it did a fantastic job of doing so. This book is told in the writing style of then and now. So you're watching Percy and Sam fall in love as they're teenagers, but then you're also getting little glimpses of the present time, which is them having to come together for Sam's father's funeral. Percy decides to come back. No, mother. Yeah, sorry, not father. Mother. And Percy gets a phone call from Sam's older brother, so she decides to come into town to show her support for the mom, despite the fact that her and Sam have not communicated in like 10 years. So we get glimpses of what the foundation of their relationship was, and then we get glimpses of what the present is looking like now. So you're watching them fall in love in a dual timeline, which is just amazing and incredible. There's a plot twist at the end that you can kind of foresee coming, so don't go into this book expecting to be like, oh, a giant plot twist. If you are, that's great, but if you're like a chronic book reader like me, you can see the plot twist coming from a mile away. So don't go into this book expecting the plot twist. Go in expecting a fantastic romance book. Next up, we have The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. This book was a top 5 and a favorite book of mine last summer as well. It was just so good. We follow Meredith. Meredith's family always goes to Martha's Vineyard every single year for a family vacation. However, this year there's a wedding involved, and Meredith is grieving the loss of her big sister. So she kind of has really just been on hiatus. Like, she hasn't really been communicating well with her family or her friends. Like, she hasn't really been doing anything but just grieving and not allowing herself to have much fun since she's going through such a heavy loss. And then she goes on this trip and they decide to replay the game Assassin. And Assassin is, I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's pretty popular on TikTok with senior assassin. It's where you get a target and you have to squirt them with water, and if you're squirted with water, you're out. But if you squirt them, you get their target, and so you kind of just, it's just a giant like water fight basically, but it happens over the course of like weeks, could be months, whatever. But so the whole family is recruited to play in this giant game of Assassin, and Meredith actually meets somebody on the groom side named Whit, and they just form a super close bond. So you're watching them just create a great friendship and relationship while also playing a super fun game of Assassin, while Meredith is also realizing it's okay for her to have fun and create new memories despite her sister not being able to. So this book is amazing. It deals with some heavy topics, considering you want like a summery book that's light. But I feel like if you're reading the whole summer, like these light books, this book is just really gonna help give you some ground, and it's so good. It's so good. The depth is amazing. Next up, we have a Sarah Dessen book. I feel like this book is pretty popular. Not this book specifically, but Sarah Dessen's book are pretty popular. I mean, she has 1,000 of them. But this is the rest of the story. I also read this book last summer. It's my first Sarah Dessen book that I ever read, but this book just gave me like the nostalgia teenage summer vibes that you're always like craving for. So in this book we follow Emma Saylor. Emma is Emma at home with her dad. However, this summer her dad is unable to care for her, so she goes on her mom's side of the family. Her mom passed away whenever she was super young, so she doesn't really know her mom's side, but her mom's side knows her. So she goes and spends the summer with them, and they start calling her Sailor because that's what her mom always called her. So now she kind of has these two personalities of am I Emma or am I Sailor? Which one's true? But she reconnects with her entire mom side of the family. I'm talking cousins, aunts, grandma, former best friends, because she used to grow up on this lake, which is a really interesting like dichotomy to read and digest. But this book does a great job of just bringing you into like the lake vibes. I mean, her dad is from the lake resort side of the lake, and her family's from like the hardworking blue collar side of the lake. So it really is interesting. Like, she's down in an area where like her mom grew up in and like really created a home, and then her dad comes in and is like, hey, I got us a spot at this super expensive resort, and she's like, oh, don't want to go there, like that's like the bad side. Next up, I'm recommending 2 Morgan Matson books. What? I feel like Morgan Matson is the queen of summer. She's just like Sarah Dessen in the fact that she's written a lot of summery books, and I just love her for it. So I'm going to start with my favorite one, which is The Unexpected Everything. I read this book whenever I was a teenage girl, and it was just an amazing book to read. Again, super thick, over 500 pages, but it is just so good to just read while you're on vacation. So in this book we follow Andy. She wants to become a doctor, so she has a really interesting like medical internship lined up for the summer. However, her dad is a politician and he gets in some hot water, so her internship acceptance is rescinded. So she's kind of scrambling to figure out, what the heck am I doing? Like, what am I supposed to do with my summer? I was supposed to leave in 2 days for this internship. I have no summer plans. I have nothing that's gonna like build my resume. What do I do? So she kind of starts freaking out, and then she finds a dog walker like as a job, like call this number if you want to work as a dog walker this summer. So she calls the number and her whole life changes. She's walking dogs, she's meeting new people that she would have never met if it wasn't for her walking their dog, and she ends up falling in love. But what I love about this book is how close her friend group is. I mean, this friend group is the type of friend group that I was involved in high school. I feel like a lot of times you're in friend groups that like they're either super popular and mean and like nobody has your back, or you get super lucky and you just have genuinely good friends who just want the best for you, and they're teenagers. They might go about it the wrong way, but like their intentions are always pure, and that's what this book really touches on, is just pure intentions and just good friendships, good found family. And it's just Andy realizing that she doesn't have it all together, but that's okay. Like, the unexpected is awesome. Next up, we have Since You've Been Gone, again, by Morgan Matson. This book is also amazing. It also was a 5-star read for me, but I think it's because I read The Unexpected Everything first that I was like in that mood, and then I read this book. But this book also so good. So in this book we follow 2 best friends, Sloane and Emily, and Sloane actually like goes missing, but Sloane leaves Emily this super long list of things to do, like for example, go apple picking at night, dance until dawn, kiss a stranger, go skinny dipping. But there's a lot more on the list that she has to do. But so Sloane is the one who kind of pulls Emily out of her shell and just really lets Emily shine. Anyway, Emily decides to follow Sloane's list and just do a bunch of things that would make Sloane happy, and she ends up really discovering her true self. She ends up being a friend along the way, and it's really just Emily coming out of her shell this summer, which is amazing and exactly what Sloane intended it for. Next up is Stay Sweet by Siobhan Vivian. This book was another 5-star read for me in an unexpected way. I wasn't expecting to like this book. I actually wanted to just like fly through it, and then I realized I couldn't because it was so good. But we follow a girl, Amelia, and it is her summer before going off to college, and she's working in an ice cream shop, the same ice cream shop she's worked at pretty much her whole life. But then the older lady who owns the restaurant ends up tragically passing away, And Amelia's the one who discovers her, so she's having a really difficult time coping with this passing away. But then her grandson takes over, and her grandson's like young, cute, like 19 years old. So Amelia and him start having a thing, and this book is just so cute because it happens at an ice cream shop, and she's falling in love, but she's also trying to get over something that's really, really difficult. But it's just, I love this book. I love this book. It's so cute and innocent, super short, like read it in a day by the pool. The next work is Fireworks by Katie Contugo. This book isn't really summery, like it doesn't really happen during summer, but the vibes I got from this book is so summery, okay? We follow two best friends, Dana and Olivia. Olivia has this lifelong dream of being a pop star, really, really talented, wants to sing. Well, Dana accompanies Olivia whenever she goes to audition to be part of a new like pop singing group. And they needed one more girl, and the manager, producer, whatever, was like, hey Dana, just come sing for us. Like, you won't get picked, but like we just need somebody else to like sing. It ends up being both Dana and Olivia who are picked to go through this like pop star group boot training camp before like the final girl is chosen of like who's going to be the next pop star. And so what quickly becomes Dana supporting Olivia then becomes Dana and Olivia in competition with each other. And so this book just really goes through like how friendships like can just fall if any sort of jealousy or competition gets in the way. So you're really just witnessing Dana be like, I didn't choose this. Like, Olivia, you wanted me to audition with you. It's just a really, really good story. I've read it twice now. I think I'm going to pick it up for a third time just because it's so interesting and the plot is so fast paced. You can read this book in a day, in a weekend. I don't know what your reading speed is, but this plot just completely sucks you in and you just can't wait. Also, there is a little love subplot, but the main plot that you are focused on is Dana and Olivia and how their friendships will survive. But my favorite thing about Katie's books is there's always like a collage on the back and on the front page. I mean, it's the same collage, but I just think it's really interesting how she gives us the aesthetic. And so if you're in the mood for any of this aesthetic, oh man, pick the book up because it's really good. Next up is Now a Major Motion Picture by Corey McCarthy. This book was another unexpected favorite of mine. I picked this book up because it came in one of my book subscriptions that I was gifted, and I was like, you know what, I would never actually read this, but I was given it, so we're gonna read it. In this book, we follow Iris, who is the granddaughter of a super famous writer. Think like the female version of J.R. Tolkien, like in that vein of super popular, great literature, like has a ginormous fan base. That's Iris's grandmother. So Iris's grandmother obviously has passed away, unfortunately. So Iris goes to be part of like the filming and the on-set presence, so she can really make sure that this film is honoring her grandmother in the correct way. Come to find out, Iris ends up having a little romance with one of the lead cast members, which is so adorable. But also, Iris did not want to go to Ireland. She did not want to be part of the filming or the production. She wanted nothing to do with this side of her life. Because this is what her grandmother asked for, not her. But so again, she's going simply to honor her grandmother and because she was asked to be in attendance for the filming. So she's going kind of out of obligation, but things quickly go south during the production side of things. Plus she does have that little spark of romance with someone, and this ends up being one of her best summers ever. Again, this book was unexpected. I thought I was going to hate it as much as Iris hated the idea of going to Ireland, but I actually loved it as much as Iris ended up loving her summer at the end of the book. So, super good writing, super good plot. It definitely is more on the slow pace side, and that's not a negative thing. You are just really like soaking up every single moment of being in Ireland and getting to just witness the beauty of it. And also, this cover has to be one of my favorites. Like, just the color scheme alone is so beautiful. Lastly is Rules of the Summer by Joanna Philbin. I also got this book whenever I was like 16 and I read it and I loved it. This was not part of a book subscription. I got this on Book Outlet because I needed one more book to get to like a certain discount. So in this book we follow Rory, who really just wants to just spend the summer away from everything that she's ever known. She's just sick of her status, she's sick of her family, she's just sick of where she is right now, and she is desperate for a change. Rory is given an opportunity to be a errand girl, like kind of like a house manager for the Rules, which is a very rich, extravagant family who lives in the Hamptons. So they have like old school money, like they are flipping rich, you know? So she gets to kind of just live in their house, run errands for them a couple times a week. Like she's pretty much just living in a beachfront mansion with so much money, like insane. She ends up really liking the teenage brother that she's there with, that she like one of the younger boys that she technically does work for, but she does spark up some romance with them. But I think the more beautiful part of this plot is that this family has a son and a daughter, and she ends up befriending the daughter Isabel, and so you really get to just see this beautiful friendship develop. Isabel is not like a snobby rich person. She's very down to earth in a way that kind of shocks Rory, but Rory is exactly who Isabel needs in this time of her life, and I think Rory also really needs Isabel in a way that she doesn't know yet. But this book was just amazing. It was so much fun. It's actually part of a duology, so the second book is called Since Last Summer. I have not read Since Last Summer, so I don't know. You can definitely read this book as a standalone because I got so much out of it. But the tagline is beaches, bonfires, boys, it's summertime in the Hamptons. This book is just genuinely so good. Think of like your typical teenage romance. It's this book. This book read like a movie. Well guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you got a little bit out of it. I do love whenever people do book recommendation videos, but a lot of the times I feel like they recommend books that are super hyped, which I recognize my first 3 are over the moon hyped up. I get it. But I definitely wanted to kind of go in my personal archives and just find some books that I never see talked about but that I really enjoyed. Granted, they are more young adults because I feel like a lot of the adult summer books that I read are super hyped up. So I'm kind of trying to just find you guys some books that normally you wouldn't see on a mainstream book platform. So I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope that you are exposed to some new books that you want to read. Again, I do say that it's YA, but I also just mean like it's kid friendly. So if you're watching this video and you're like, what can I have my daughter read this summer? Probably all these books are fine. But so yeah, thank you guys again for watching. I hope that you guys picked up some books. If you guys have some summer book recommendations that I haven't heard yet, please comment down below. I would love to add to my summer TBR, which speaking of, next week I will be giving you guys my summer TBR, and maybe we can start a book club on the app Fable. I don't know, just a thought, but that would be kind of fun. Well, I love you guys, and I will see you guys next Thursday. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!